And welcome back to the Over 40s Fitness Podcast. My name's Tristan Lowe, third week in October, and today's guest is Dr. Jonathan Gibbs. Hello, Jonathan.
Hello, afternoon, Tristan.
How you doing, sir?
Very well, thank you.
All right, just a quick cap. Jonathan, I've known Jonathan for approximately 12 years now, and you're a GP, a doctor, a retired GP.
Yeah, that's true, from last year,
Yeah, and Jonathan's claim to fame, apart from being a loving husband and a father to 3 daughters, and a well-respected GP in the Lincolnshire community, is that he recently ran the Amsterdam Marathon. So, Jonathan, show the crowd your medal, this shiny thing they gave you.
What's the medal?
Okay, so now you didn't have to buy that.
No.
Okay, you did the Amsterdam Marathon.
Yeah.
You ran, but okay, so let's talk about it. All right, so you've done marathons before.
Yeah, this is my 8th marathon.
Yeah.
I started running maybe when I was well, actually it's quite late on, about 45 I started running. Before then, I played squash at London Squash Club for about 13 years.
Yeah.
Before then, I never did any exercise, nothing at all, so I was about 35.
Okay, I happen to know some of that story. So 8 marathons, yeah? Okay, can you remember in chronological order which they were? Not necessarily the year, but where did you start? London Marathon or something?
No, the first one was Liverpool Marathon, the Rock and
Yeah.
Roll Marathon in
Right.
2014.
And these are all normal 26-mile distance?
Yeah, 26.2,
Yeah.
That's because my eldest daughter is living in Liverpool.
Right.
That's the first one, and that was my best time.
In
2012.
2012?
Minutes.
Yeah,
about that.
then where?
And then, I can't remember exactly the order, but I would have done, I've done Nottingham twice,
Yeah.
Liverpool twice altogether,
Yeah.
Leicester once, that was the worst one I did.
Right. Worst for time, yeah?
Well, I mean, no, not necessarily. It was just not many people turned up.
Okay.
It wasn't very well organised,
Right.
and it was just it wasn't the best one I've done.
Sure, okay.
And Amsterdam I've done 3 times.
Oh,
The
okay.
third time I did it.
Yeah.
In fact, the first time I did it was even before my middle daughter now lives in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
So that was before she actually moved there.
Okay. 8 marathons. Why do I mean, I've never run a marathon, but why do I want to think of marathons? I think of London Marathon or New York Marathon. Is it because they're the biggest ones and most famous ones? Because someone recently done one in Spain, someone done one in, you've done one in Amsterdam. Why is it that I just think of London Marathon, New York Marathon? I mean, when you say Nottingham Marathon, I didn't know there was a marathon in Nottingham.
Well, I did put my name down to do the London Marathon. The trouble is with all these big marathons like Berlin, Boston, New York, is that you have to pay. You either have to pay £2,000 to enter it, or you have to get £2,000 in charity. And I did do that for the sponsorship.
Yeah.
I did that originally for the Liverpool one.
Right.
But I find it so difficult,
Yeah.
asking people for money. And I didn't. I think.
And what if you only got one sponsor? Do you want two?
Well, some people do. One of my friends only had one sponsor, virtually paid the whole thing.
Yeah.
For the London Marathon.
Right. Okay.
Which is the business he was working for.
Oh, it does help.
Whereas Amsterdam, I just pay my £80, and
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah,
And it's a runner's run,
Yeah.
which is the other reason. A lot of top Ethiopians and Kenyans run it.
Yeah.
But, to get trials for Olympics.
Right.
And it's flat, of course, which
Yeah.
Nottingham wasn't. Nottingham had 7 hills.
Yeah. Okay.
Liverpool's quite hilly.
Sure.
Brighton's quite hilly.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought of Nottingham as hilly. Sheffield, maybe.
Yeah, there was about 7 hills I ran over. Yeah.
All right, talk me through it then. So you did your first marathon in 2012,
Yeah,
Liverpool Marathon.
yeah.
I possibly might have known you by then. I think I've known you since 2012, at the very latest 2013. Sure,
Possibly.
maybe
Yeah,
2012. I
yeah.
opened good condition in
Yeah,
2010.
possibly, yeah.
Okay, excellent. All right then. Well, what goes into your marathon training? Because you're a GP, yeah, you're a doctor, and which is predominantly a sedentary profession. Yeah, in terms of
That's
you're,
right,
you're sat down for most of the day.
Yeah, for hours on end.
Yeah, you might go from one room to a consultant room to another, or go to the canteen, or go to the toilet, something like that, or stand up with a patient.
Yeah.
But you're not on a building site, or you're not like I am, where I'm stood up for at least 8-9 hours a day.
Yeah.
So you were by then you'd have been in your early 50s.
Yeah.
You'd have had a sedentary profession, sat down all day.
Yeah.
So how do you go from sitting down all day to training for a marathon?
It started off in the squash club. We used to do 10k to the Lincoln 10k. It started with that. I did that
right.
a few times.
Okay, yeah.
And then I thought, well, I'll give half marathon a try. So I did Scunthorpe half marathon. I think I've done that about 7 times.
Right.
And that's
Oh,
nice
okay.
and flat.
Oh,
and
right.
that's in the football stadium as well.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And then I got to about 48, and I thought, see if I can do a marathon before I get to 50.
Yeah.
So I wanted to do it before I got to 50. It was a
Yeah.
goal,
Yeah.
So that's why I did the Liverpool one. But the trouble with my work is I could only run, my long run would have to be on a Sunday, and my short run would have to be in the week.
Yeah, for work.
On a Wednesday.
Yeah.
And I didn't have, there was no other people could run in the morning or after work.
Yeah.
But I started work at, you know, quarter to 8, and you
Yeah.
finish work at 8 or whatever. It's impossible to run either end of that.
Even if you might do it once or twice in the year if the weather's good, run at 8 o'clock or 8:30 at night. But when you're training for a half marathon or a marathon, you know, I can imagine, it's the time that goes into it.
Yeah.
All right, so that kind of gives me the answer then. So you go from thinking of doing it, you go from playing squash, which is a multi-directional sport.
Yeah.
So you were used to movement anyhow.
Yeah.
Because I've always known you to be a thin man.
Yeah.
You know, you've never been overweight or anything like that. Not that I've seen anyhow.
Yeah.
So you come from sport like squash, which is quite a dynamic, explosive sport.
Yeah, absolutely. Not very good
So-
for running, it has to say.
Yeah, well, you might move forward and back, but it's not an endurance sport where you're just running forward.
Right, yeah.
You then went to 10Ks, half marathons, right? Okay. So while you're doing that, you're still working. So if you're running on a Sunday morning, did you say?
Yeah, Sunday afternoon usually.
Yeah. How many takers did you get to run with you on a Sunday afternoon? Because most people want to eat roast beef and go to sleep on a Sunday.
Well, I wasn't in a running club. I just used to run by myself. There was
Yeah.
only one friend of mine who ran the London Marathon, and I ran with him over the winter to help him train.
Yeah.
So I did that because he was kind of like struggling with the longer runs.
Right.
But other than that, I ran with Janet's sister when she used to live in the UK, Lucy.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
she
so
used to come with me on the long
For
runs.
those of you watching, Janet is Jonathan's wife. That's Mrs. Gibbs.
Yeah.
Her sister, your sister. You know where I'm from in London? They call that my sister-in-law.
Right.
So,
Yeah, my sister-in-law.
Okay, I get you. Yeah, and you train with Lucy as well. Okay. Now, tell me about when before you go for these runs, whether it be a 5K, 10K, half marathon, or whatever. When you're training, okay. I happen to know, but I'd like our listeners to know, you're not good at the warming up and the cooling down side of it.
Well, actually, the last marathon I did, which I could talk about in a minute, it was completely different to all the other marathons I've done. So normally I would never warm up, I never cool down.
And yet, why is that?
I just didn't think I had enough time to do it really. I just wanted to get it over and done with, and just get the run over and done with.
Yeah.
And I just run out of the house. And
You didn't even stretch at home or in the garden or the front. You just
No.
You just decided to go on a marathon train and put your train and just walk out the front door and start running.
Well, the worst thing was when I finished. So I'd finish my run, and
Yeah.
I immediately, because I'd run, all my marathons have always been in the autumn time.
Yeah.
So they usually be running in the summer. So I'd just sit on the decking with a Jack Daniels and Coca-Cola, and that'd be my cool down.
I just want to make it clear that drinking a Jack Daniels and Coca-Cola after your marathon was Jonathan's own unique, as a marathon runner and a GP, his own unique way of recovering, and we don't suggest that to our viewers.
No. It was just a
Either of
reward.
us.
It was just a reward. It
A
was
reward.
cold drink, a reward.
So not water and a banana or an electrolyte.
No, I've got, but
Jack
the last one I got better. I like the last marathon, the Amsterdam one. I completely changed.
Yeah,
My diet
interesting.
changed.
Yeah.
So instead of like toast and jam in the morning, I'd have muesli in the morning, and I'd have eggs for lunch, and I would do a proper warm up, before I start.
Yeah, which
is which is exactly the same as what Lauren teaches us.
Yeah.
At the gym class here.
Yeah.
And that would be for 5 minutes, and then get my watch done, and then make sure I've been to the loo and everything.
Yeah.
Make sure I've got my water. I take my Camelback with me. I take my gels with me.
Your Camelback on the back there with the straw to your mouth.
Yeah. I always
What
do
does that hold? A litre or something, or 2 litres?
quite about a litre, I'd say.
Yeah, enough to get you through what? A half marathon?
20 miles.
Yeah,
So
okay.
you take little sips regularly.
Yeah, you hydrate before you go.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Without going into full bloody detail, do you have to have proper bowel movement before you?
Oh yeah, definitely. On the
Because
long
I've heard
run,
about
yeah,
marathon
definitely,
runners,
yeah.
their bowels going whilst they're training.
especially on the Amsterdam, on all the marathons. Well, they call it running trots, don't they? That you go to the toilet about 6 times before you go. And you wee like. In fact, one of the funny things was just before you start the marathon, about a minute before, suddenly everyone rushes to the toilet. So
Right.
all go at once and they rush back. And
That's a mess, right? Okay, yeah. All right. So post training, okay, you've done 10K, half marathon. When you get back, apart from your Jack Daniels and Coke, did you do any stretching?
Oh yeah, afterwards definitely. I'd divide it into two. I'd stretch up on my driveway just from my legs.
Yeah.
And then while I was running the bath, I'd lay on my back and do the stretches for my glutes and hamstrings.
Yeah.
and that seemed to work quite well.
And so you
and
would
drink lots of water.
drink lots of water. So, okay, so you'd have a bath after running.
Yeah, well, I did try for a while. Actually, it was your suggestion many years ago, was have cold baths, and I tried that for a while, and I just found it too uncomfortable.
Yeah, it
really,
is
so I just went back to doing hot baths again.
Yeah, no, that's interesting that you'd run for 1, 2, 3 hours, 4 hours to run a marathon, train for a marathon, but the thought of getting in a cold bath, you find that uncomfortable. So you get in a cold bath, you haven't got to go anywhere, the water's cold. Okay, now what I'm saying, what I suggest is you start with cold showers and then progress onto cold baths as long as you can handle it, as long as your nervous system, your heart rate, you don't go into shock or anything like that. But it wasn't always my suggestion to do it immediately after your runs, because sometimes to do it on days in between. Let that soft tissue recover. All right, so you run your bath, you've had your Jack Daniels and Coke. I'm sure that the good ladies made your lunch or your dinner. Okay, so you're being treated like a thoroughbred racehorse, essentially. You know what I mean? When you finished your.
Well, it was after the long runs, especially if it's like 20 miles. I get back and you've been having all your gels every 5 miles, and you'd actually, well, I did feel quite sick.
Yeah.
So I couldn't eat anything when I got back. So it took me quite a long while to actually eat anything.
Interesting.
So I try and have a banana.
Yeah.
But the Amsterdam Marathon, I was fine. I even had a banana. I even went out in the evening for a meal. But obviously, I trained,
You change some of your routine for your body to adjust to it. What goes through your mind when you're running that kind of distance? I know you. Do you listen to music?
I always listen to music. Yeah, I've got a Amazon Music, my running tracks, and I just have like poppy music on.
Yeah.
And I can't have anything slow on it, and I just listen to that. But some people don't like listening to any music. Some people listen to podcasts.
Yeah.
Some people do different things.
So yours is a playlist, yeah?
Yeah, just something to take my mind, I think.
Yeah. Any particular artist?
All sorts of things.
Give us an example. Let's get our viewers to laugh.
I don't know, chain smokers.
We're not suggesting that you get into chain smoking as a marathon, right? That's the name of the group.
Name of the group.
Okay, yeah.
Some Shaker Boosley, I like him.
Shaker Boosley.
Yeah.
Who are they?
It's the American country music.
Oh, okay, yeah, country and western, cool.
A bit of that, yeah.
Okay. So anything cool instead? I'm just kidding. All right, okay, so you do that, you listen to music. All right, what goes through your mind though? That's separate, but surely if you're running for an hour or two on your own, with or without music, there surely has to be some thought process that drift in and out of your mind while you're doing that kind of running, that amount of time on your own.
Well, it depends where you do it. Like I find treadmills, for example, like incredibly boring to run on. I find it so tedious. But some of the runs, I follow this Ben Parks on YouTube, and I followed his program for running, and I tried to do something completely different this time. So he goes on about interval runs, tempo runs. Hill repeats, which I did at Cameronham Hill, which is near here, and he goes on about doing different places to run, different terrain, like on dunes, sand, pebbles, whatever, just to make it very interesting. So one of the best runs I did this time was to run the Norfolk Coastal Walk, and that was great because you were running through all these little villages with windmills. I was running along the beach, and there's all these people. Yeah, you can watch the sea, and there's all these people doing bird watching, whatever.
Right.
And
how long is it? The coastal walk, the route.
That was 20 miles up.
That's 20 miles.
Yeah.
So Norfolk's a big county. I like Norfolk as well. I can imagine there's a lot to see there.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think the whole distance is 135 miles, so I did a small section there.
Gotcha.
And one of the other runs I did was along the Lincoln Witham Canal. They call it the railway. I think it's the railway route. And so you start off at the Lincoln Rowing Club, and I ended up in Coningsworth, where the RAF are based.
Yeah.
And that was 22 miles.
Right.
And there's all these art things along the way.
Something to see, yeah.
And it's quite interesting. And I wouldn't run the whole. Sometimes I'd stop and take a picture and read what was on a placard. There's a bit of history along the way. So.
All right. What's now when you're running, the primary muscles that are moving are from the hips down.
Yeah.
The quadriceps, glutes, hamstrings, calves. Maybe a bit of core stability as well, ankle joints. Do you ever get tired in the body from the top half? Do the arms and shoulders and back ever get tired in the same way the legs do?
I think you have to exercise everything. You have to do your shoulders and your arms. And actually, before, when I was playing squash, that didn't help my running at all. But since coming here, doing strength-based classes, which is actually also part of the Ben Parks marathon training things,
Yeah.
put in strength-based things,
Yeah.
it's made a huge difference. You know, carrying on
Yeah.
long distances.
I wonder if there's any sort of like evidence to show to at least look into an endurance athlete who runs marathons who doesn't do any strength training for the top half of the body compared to the same person, man or woman, who runs marathons, who trains not just the legs for strength but the top half as well. I wonder if there is a disparity in terms of performance, times and recovery, because it's systemic. If you train, if you're gonna, when you're running, surely the arms are going forward.
Yeah,
and back,
absolutely.
you know, I've seen some, when I'm out driving, I see runners and there's some strange techniques.
There definitely.
Yeah, some of it looks quite painful.
Yeah.
I mean, I live in Lincoln City now, and I'd say once, sometimes twice a week, I see this runner. He's got to be late 50s at the most, little fella. And when I see him run, if you saw it, it looks absolutely excruciating. His technique, his gait and his cadence and whatnot, and the way he moves. And yet that's his thing, because I've seen him so many times running now, and it's almost gruesome to watch, but that's his technique. But
I've seen some people do run with their arms by the side and don't move them, and some people are just sliding along.
Flintstones
and you get some people that flip their hips out.
Don't do that in public, like on your runs. Okay, so all right, so but you use your body as well. You pump your arms. Use your back,
I think they say arms are is it 20% of the running, which seems unlikely. That's what I've read.
Yeah, because they're still levers, aren't they?
Yeah, that's right. So it kind of gets you going.
Yeah,
and of course your lungs are really important as well.
Yeah.
And I've always had, well, you know, embarrassingly used to smoke when I was younger, but I'm quite lucky that my lungs are very good. I've been running with people and I can hear them behind me all spluttering and wheezing and coughing, and I've never had any problems with breathing.
That's good. So your VO2 max, or your body's ability to take in and transport oxygen, has always been good.
I think that's really important as well.
Now, just correct me if I'm wrong. You actually reduced some body weight in the last few months.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think
How much weight did you lose?
Well, in this particular training, or to go from the start, which is like 17 or 18 weeks, was it? I'd run 600 miles, and I reckon I lost about 5 kilograms.
Yeah.
So I think my waist size was 34, now it's 32.
Yeah, so best part of a stone.
Yeah, that's quite a lot.
600 miles for 5 kilos. I don't think many viewers or listeners would want to run 600 miles to lose 5 kilos. You know, I don't think they'd want to run 600 miles to lose 10 kilos, because it doesn't sound like a payoff. But you wasn't doing it to lose weight. You were doing
it wasn't to lose weight. It does help though. The more you lose weight, it does help carry on.
Yeah. Your body naturally wants to get rid of muscle though when you're doing endurance training like running. It gets rid of the most hungry, dominant tissue in the body, which is the soft tissue, which is muscle. You know, it gets rid of the most and holds onto body fat for a certain period of time. At some point when you're doing that running, your body fat would come down. But the first thing the body's designed to get rid of is muscle. It's the quality of muscle, not the amount of muscles we have, as you know. It dumps it because it takes up a smaller area in the body than fat does, but it's more hungry, it's more greedy. It requires more fuel, and it's heavy and dense as well. So the body wants to get rid of that, and it'd be interesting if you'd measured your muscle mass and body fat levels 600 miles ago, and then measured it again for the last 2 weeks in Amsterdam Marathon. I always think if I took up running, I'm not going to, but if I did, I'd be almost apprehensive or nervous that it was going to dump muscle off my body. When I trained for trekking and climbing, over a space of 2 years, I walked thousands of miles. Yeah, I tracked it, and I had to constantly consume so many calories to stay around 79, 80 kilos. But when I came back from the Himalayas, I lost 6-7 pounds in the space of days in the mountains. Your body's getting rid of all the muscle, and it just holds on to bone tissue and a little bit of fat. There's but there's a lot to be said for cardiovascular athletes that actually will go through some form of strength training, whether that being set up push-ups and sit-ups at home, or proper using dumbbells, kettlebells, barbells, resistance bands. And as long as we've known you, you've always done that. You've always done some kind of strength training in your, which has probably really helped you stay relatively injury-free. Talking of which, what's the most sort of chronic injury you've had since 2012?
On this particular marathon training, I got piriformis syndrome in the left buttock, and that took me a month. That was before I started training, thank goodness. And then I also got left Achilles tendonitis, which I still hadn't carried on. Eventually, when
same side as the glute.
Yeah.
Piriformis, Right.
And then the worst thing was I got COVID, which set me back 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So I was always having to chase the schedule. I was always behind 2 weeks in the schedule, but eventually I caught up with it. So that was, and I couldn't run. I was just too exhausted to run 4 times a week, and you really have to be running 4 or 5 times a week.
Is that right?
Yeah.
What to compete in a marathon or to get that sub 4 hour time that you was going for?
Well, that was on my schedule, which I never did. I always run twice a week.
Yeah.
I think to get under 4 hours, you have to be running at least 4 times a week.
Yeah. And what sort of distance on each one of those 4 runs a week? What would it be?
Oh well, I'd always go on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I'd do 6 miles, 6 miles each time. So that'd be 18 miles altogether, and then it'd be my long run on the Sunday, and it starts off 8 miles, and you build it up.
The Sunday runs,
yeah.
Okay.
Or Saturday.
Yeah, gotcha.
And you just keep building.
Yeah. And you got through piriformis syndrome. I mean, I've actually had that myself, and when it goes into the glute, as you put the going into the glute, it's sort of like an annoying pain as well, because when you move left and right, you can feel it, and you know if it's not your lower back, you know it's right in the glute, and you can stretch it, you can foam roll it, trigger point it, you can have cold baths, hot baths, sleep really well, take supplements, but it takes time for it to recover. And sometimes it can shoot down into the hamstrings as well. It may not be a compressive load on the vertebrae in the way that we think with something like sciatic nerve impingement, but piriformis, I've heard about people who still got it 6 months later.
Yeah, I think it lasts about a month. But previous times I've had, when I did the second Liverpool marathon, I had shin splints.
Oh right.
And that was, and I taped up somebody said I taped up my leg, and I actually ran with my shin splints. But there was a point where I couldn't physically run because it was so painful.
Yeah.
Walking was fine.
Yeah.
But it was just like a 1 centimetre point on my shin.
Right. On what you call both sides or one leg?
It was just on one side.
On your left side?
It was just incredible. I just remember it being so painful to walk on. I couldn't. So I just had to stop. I just had to stop running, and eventually it went away.
Yeah.
I didn't have it. I couldn't see anyone. Apparently ibuprofen doesn't help. When it just will go away. And I've never had it since.
It's interesting you pointed to your left shin because you talked about having left piriformis as well.
I think it was on the left.
And left ankle joint problem or whatever, you know. And say by the sound of it, you're right-handed. By the sound of it, it's your technique of how you run. You've got an imbalance between left and right. And shin splints, for those who don't know, often, of course, not just in runners, but other athletes get it as well. And it's because the muscles in the shin that run down the tibia and the fibula, they don't actually condition those, strengthen those muscles.
Right.
They tend to, golfers can get it as well. So, you know, that breakdown of the tissue, that strain of the tissue in the front and in the shins, bodybuilders get it as well. But the key is to actually strengthen that area with ankle dorsiflexion, ankle plantar flexion, exercises that strengthen that muscle that's taking all that strain. Because people think, okay, I'm going to train my legs for running, so they talk about squats, deadlifts, lunges, lateral movement, which is great, but you've also got to do what's almost considered nearly an isolation technique and isolate the shin muscles. And that doesn't mean 1,000 calf raises a week, because that's just working the muscles in the gastrocnemius and the soleus behind the calf. But the shin splints at the front, that what we call the tibialis anterior, that's got to be strengthened independently almost on its own. And that's the reason why people get shin splints. They haven't strengthened that muscle to take the impact. Bodybuilders get what we call forearm splints as well. And they get it predominantly from doing bicep curls with a straight bar, like a barbell, like a 20 kilo barbell, or even, but the bar is not sort of ergonomically designed to work with how the forearms and the wrists naturally rotate in. And that's why it's better to do your arm curls with dumbbells, because you get that little bit of supination or pronation, that rotation there. But if they don't, your big bodybuilders and strongmen who can lift some really heavy weights, they'll do those bicep curls. It became a real problem from the 70s onwards, because they were bicep curling with a straight bar. And of course it puts massive strain on the muscles around the wrist and the forearm. So they had to realise they had to train the muscles in the forearms to catch up with the amount of weight they could curl. I'm digressing there, because you're not going to go into bodybuilding, are you? And neither am I. All right, let me tell you about the in Amsterdam. What was predominantly the country most people came from? Just to look at the eye test.
Well, there's definitely a lot of people from the UK. You could tell that from the airport when I was queuing up your plane. A lot of running clubs go to Amsterdam because it's very easy to get to. It's like a different country. Yeah. I think it's like quite multinational, really. I'm thinking people from all around the world.
All from Africa, America, South America.
I think all the elite runners, they're all from Ethiopia and there's and Kenya. They're the 2 main countries. Yeah. They all start at the beginning. Yeah. And they're the most famous runners. I don't know them. I don't know the name.
Okay, yeah. And okay, was it a real mixed crowd in terms of men and women?
Yeah, I'd say so. I suppose mostly maybe half and half, really.
Yeah.
It's difficult to say, really.
Is there an age limit to enter it?
No, I don't know. There was people a lot older.
You can be
than me when
14
I
or
checked.
15
Yeah.
then?
Oh no! To run a marathon, I think you have to be over 18.
18, and
Yeah,
so
yeah,
you could have
But
someone
older, you can
at the other end,
be
you
as
could be
old as you
18.
can. Yeah, but they do like kids runs in Amsterdam,
Yeah.
so kids can train.
Gotcha.
But they can't do. They're not allowed to do marathons.
Right.
Because the bones are still forming, the joints
Yeah.
are still forming. You're not
Gotcha.
allowed to.
Any of your 3 daughters thinking of getting into it?
Well, Penny lives in Amsterdam. She does do a little bit of running,
Yeah.
but her partner Mitch, he's thinking about doing the Amsterdam half marathon next year.
Great.
I might do it with him.
Yeah, cool, yeah, okay.
Because it's the 50th anniversary of the marathon in Amsterdam,
Right.
and it's the 750th anniversary of Amsterdam in general. You know,
What?
the country
What you
in
got?
existence.
Yeah,
So I think
okay.
there'll be some big celebrations next year. You know.
Right,
So I'd
okay.
like to be there for that. So.
And that's a half marathon.
That's a half, yeah. That
Yeah.
starts in the afternoon. It's a bit
Yeah.
more civil.
Perhaps Penny should do it as well then, you know?
Yeah, I don't think she will. I don't think she likes running that
Oh,
much.
okay.
She just
Not
does
a
it
cup
for
of tea.
fitness, but
Yeah.
I don't think either of them particularly like running. Really.
Yeah. When you were at the surgery, how many years was you practicing GP?
28 years, 30 years.
Yeah, 28 years at the same surgery.
Yeah, 28 years at that Minster practice. Yeah.
At Minster practice, yeah. Okay. And in all that time, did any other of the GPs, nurse practitioners, did they get involved in squash or sports, or was you the only person there that did anything?
No, one of my other partners was involved in football, so he is the football doctor for Lincoln City.
Okay.
My other partner's Paul. He's really into marathons. He's just done the Berlin Marathon.
Right.
I think he wants to do the New York one and then maybe the Tokyo one.
Right.
possibly.
Yeah. Do you keep in touch with him?
Oh yeah. You keep in touch. He likes running.
Yeah, New York and Tokyo. They sound cool.
Yeah, he likes doing all the big ones. I think
Yeah.
he likes doing
But that costs more money.
Yeah, I think he gets a lot of sponsors. I think he does sponsorship for charities.
Oh, okay.
I think that's how he does it.
Yeah, good for him.
He
Yeah.
seems to know he seems to know a lot of people.
Yeah.
But
Let's talk about your apparel. What you're wearing when you run. I mean, you're wearing a pair of old. For those of you who can't see, because we're on those who are just listening, Jonathan's wearing an old pair of walking boots there. So I know you weren't running in those. All right, what's your go-to brand or model for trainers?
Well, I always change every year, but this particular year, there's a new type of shoe that's coming out. That's got it's called carbon plated.
Right.
So one of the cheapest brands is Puma, make carbon plated shoes, and they're
Yeah.
like Nike Vaporfly is the shoe to get, but they're very expensive. They're like £200, £250. So I bought mine, the Puma ones, for I think it was 120. I think.
Oh, okay.
Like that.
So and that's the cheap one, and they've actually got carbon parts in the running shoe.
Yeah, so they have 2 layers of foam, and in the middle is just carbon plate, and it's meant to be like a kind of a spring. So when you hit on your heel, it's meant to spring you back.
Gotcha.
So it's meant to give you 10 minutes extra in a marathon. Let's say.
Really? That's a bold claim.
So they say. But some research has been done, and they found it only benefits elite runners, not your average runner.
Yeah, but an elite runner surely wouldn't knock 10 minutes off a marathon because they're wearing a different pair of trainers.
Well, that's how they're breaking all these times now in marathons.
Yeah.
They reckon because of the shoe.
I wonder who funds that research though. Puma or Nike.
Well, it's Nike that brought the Vaporfly. They were the first people to bring out the shoe.
Yeah, and they did the research.
And everyone copied it.
Yeah. Okay, we're not actually endorsing a particular brand, but you're talking about Nike, Puma, out of ignorance
they all
from
do
marathon
it now,
running. I always think of marathon runners as wearing Asics or
Yeah,
whatever.
I think they do run. I think there's all sorts of different
And
brands.
now there's 2 other
I think
brands.
Nike is the most famous.
Hoka? Do people wear Hoka?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
On Cloud?
I think, I'm not quite sure about the brand. But
Oh.
yeah, there's quite a few of them.
Yeah.
They're all kind of very similar. I mean, I've got a neutral kind of a shoe, so I have a neutral shoe.
Yeah. Have you had your gait scan done? How you plant?
Yeah. I went to Lincoln Running Shop,
Yeah.
and they video you, and they tell you whether you're overpronating or underpronating or neutral. Mine's neutral, and they're all runners that work at that shop.
Yeah.
So they'll recommend a particular shoe within your price range.
Yeah.
And you get to run up and down Lincoln High Street, you know.
In the shoe?
Yeah.
Oh, right, so you can make a mess of it and say, I'm not keen.
No, they're very good. Yeah.
That's
In fact,
what
what I said to one of them, I said, well, what stops you from just running away with a pair of your shoes?
They catch you.
He said, he catch me up. He said, there's no way you'll be able to.
Yeah.
These are elite runners.
Yeah, they catch you. Yeah, that's interesting. That's funny. Okay, now what about What about the rest of your clothing? Does it matter what t-shirt and shorts you wear? I mean, is there a pair of shorts that knocks 9 minutes off your PB?
Well, there would always be what they call wicking, to wick your sweat away.
Yeah.
So years ago when I was young, you'd have cotton shorts.
Yeah,
but
cotton
now
is
they're
wrong.
all really lightweight fabric and
synthetic
and shirts that got mesh in it, and so all the sweat goes away.
Yeah.
I wear compression socks and compression sort of socks that go around your calf.
Yeah.
And some people wear compression on their
I've seen
arms
those,
as well.
on their arms too. Yeah.
Whether it helps or not is debatable. But everyone has their own. It seemed to help, you know.
Well, when you're wearing those compression socks or the stockings or the full leggings, what they're essentially doing, as you know, they're compacting the muscle, and they're helping to do two things. That's increase blood flow, but also stabilise as well, especially when you get one that goes over a joint. You know, if you've got like a full length of compression leggings, I wear them in winter under my shorts. They're going over the joint, they're going over the kneecap, and it just gives you that little bit of extra protection over the knee. As the knee articulates inside the patellofemoral groove, as it moves like that, there could be a bit of placebo effect involved. Oh, I'm wearing my full length, expensive, skins leggings underneath my shorts, my knees are going to be better. But I think if anything actually goes over a joint area, hip joint, because they come up to like your belly button almost.
Yeah, the skins do.
Yeah, so it wraps around the glutes and the hips and the groin area, and it goes over the knees. Yeah. So there's that protection of extension and flexion of the hip and the knee, but also the compression of the muscle as well. And it's supposed to, you're supposed to also keep them on post-training as well. I've heard about world-class athletes wearing compression leggings on flights as well. In the same way, people that have got a DVT, deep vein thrombosis, if they're on flights, they wear those compression sort of stockings. Yeah. You don't run around in those though. Yeah. Those ones you see like patients would have.
Yeah, it's a similar type of thing. It's very tight at the bottom of the ankle, and then it goes but it doesn't cover your knee, it just goes below.
I've seen them, just the shin, Plus also it looks cool. Yeah. It makes you look like you know what you're doing. Yeah. Well, you must know what you're doing. You did a marathon, Amsterdam. What was your time?
4 hours, 12 minutes, 17 seconds.
Yeah. Right, and you were aiming for sub 4 hours?
Yeah, that was my primary aim, was to get into 4 hours, because I've done 4 hours, 5 minutes, and I still think I can do it.
Yeah.
And so this time, on previous marathons, I've always started off too quick. So this time I had it was really up to 80 miles, I was really consistent. So to run a 4 hour marathon, you have to do 4 hours, 9 seconds. So I wanted to be 9-minute miles, so just below that. So I managed that quite consistently up to 18 miles. And then I went a bit pear-shaped after that. After 18 miles, it started dropping down.
What, through your physical exhaustion?
I was just, my legs had become painful. I think my legs just didn't want to go anymore. They just became very uncomfortable. And I just got, I could feel myself getting slower and slower. And I mean, that was a disappointment. But on the plus side, I managed to run the whole way, because often I've stopped and had to walk and then run again. So I managed to run constantly. Yeah, I imagine it's a real natural instinct to stop. Because up to 5 weeks previously, I thought I was almost about to give up, because I was really struggling with the long runs. Yeah. And then suddenly, when I went to Norfolk on holiday, I did this 20-mile run, and then it all seemed to kick in. And after that, seemed to improve. In fact, one of the other things which we talked about before, which I wanted to talk about, was which I still can't get my head around, is the easy run. So, which I've never heard of before. So an easy run is meant to be 80% of your runs in the week. So an easy run is like a 10-minute mile. So an easy run is just so you can chat and you're just jogging really. Yeah.
Your rate of perceived exertion will be less than you'll think. Oh, this is a 6, 7 out of 10 effort. Whereas if you're going for a particular time, it's it got to be like a 9 to 10 out of your physical effort.
Yeah, I think the idea is if you run fast, you use up all your sugar, and then you run out of steam, and then you have to stop. But the idea of doing an easy run is to get your body using the fats. That's how I understand it. Right. If you run slowly, your body learns to use the fat rather than the sugar. And
that's how switches.
You run. Well, apparently. Even though you take sugar with you in gel packs.
Right. So your body uses will switch to use fat for a source of energy. Rather than your body's own sort of carbohydrate or glucose.
Yeah, I think that's the idea.
Interesting how the body can adapt like that. And there's evidence behind that as well.
Oh yeah, there's lots of evidence behind it. All the top runners, all the elite runners,
like a ketosis almost.
They all run really slowly. And when you watch them running, you think that cannot possibly be right. Yeah. That's what they do. They run really slowly, and most of the runs are just little jogs,
Yeah. And
but the difference on this, as I said, you have to do speed runs and tempo runs and all these new terms which I'd never heard.
Oh,
of
the Swedish fartlek training.
Yeah, I did that as well. I did a bit of that.
Yeah. And did it work?
Heel repeats.
Oh,
I think it all helped.
Yeah.
I think you have to kind of vary, do different things.
Yeah.
And as I said, I've tried to. The most difficult thing I had problems with is he would, let's say, Ben Park said, we'll do a run for 20 miles. So you'd run 2 miles easy, 2 miles marathon pace, 2 miles easy, 2 miles marathon pace, like that. And I found it really difficult. To switch from one to another, I'd have to keep doing the same thing. So I found that quite difficult. So I'd end up doing these fartleks where I'd see a post and then run quick to the next post and then I'd run easy.
Gotcha. Yeah. It got you through it though. It got you through the training without serious injury as well. And it'd be interesting. What was your fastest time? Was your fastest time in a marathon when you were still working or now you're retired?
No, the fastest was when I was still working. That was my very first one when I was 48.
Yeah. Oh, so you're noticeably younger because you're 61 now.
Well, yeah, I'll be 62 in a week.
Yeah, okay. Well, happy birthday for next week, so you know what I mean. Okay, 62 in a week. So
on Sunday.
Yeah, this Sunday.
Yeah.
That's not a week. That's 3 days.
Right, 3 days.
No, it's 3 days. You're 62 in 3 days, not a week.
Yeah.
That's next Wednesday.
Yeah, well.
Let's narrow it. Okay, sorry to be the bearer of bad news. You know what I mean. 62. How many more marathons do you think you've got left in you?
Well, next I'm going to do because Lincoln's doing a half marathon. They haven't done one for years. I'm definitely doing the Lincoln half marathon, and I'd like to do the Amsterdam half marathon straight after that, which is within 2 weeks of each other.
Gotcha.
I might do one next year. I'll see. I haven't decided yet. I might do another one.
Well, if you do the New York, Tokyo, London, or Boston marathon, our sponsor, so that's £1 towards your £2,000 that you need. You're going to get £1 off me, maybe a bit more than that. Okay, let me ask you something. If you run your marathon next year, you do a half marathon, Lincoln Marathon, what's that, 13.1 miles?
Yeah, 13.1.
Now, if you ran the marathon for 4 minutes and 12, would you run a half marathon for 2 minutes and 6, or would it be like 1:58, 1:59?
No, it'd be a lot faster, but it'd be quicker to train for it as well. I mean, my fastest half marathon is 1 hour 47.
Interesting, and yet the second half, that diminishing return, that's a huge difference. I thought you might say 7 or 8 minutes quicker in the first half, but
it's quite a big difference.
But one
it's very different. Half marathons and 10. If you could do a 10k, you could do a half marathon. But going from half marathon to marathon is
big jump,
quite a massive jump.
Yeah, 10k though. That's nowhere near 13 miles.
Yeah,
though,
but they you could just carry it on.
Really?
They say you can just carry it on.
Yeah,
it's not as big a jump. But
the full distance.
So I reckon I could do 1 hour 50 still. 1 hour 52.
Excellent.
Well, I don't think I'll ever beat 1 hour 57 again. It's like my 10k.
57.
1 hour 47.
1 hour 47.
Was my half marathon.
Yeah,
and
excellent.
10k record was in Lincoln was 47 minutes. Again, excellent. I don't think I'll ever beat. I mean, that's going quite fast for me.
That's good going. Yeah. Well, okay. So if tomorrow morning, for some unforeseen reason you couldn't marathon run anymore or train for long distance runs, what else would you do?
Well, since I'm retired, I kind of feel I need a more sociable sport. So I'm kind of thinking about that really, because I think the trouble with running, I could join a running club. That's one thing I could do. But I was thinking about maybe
if you couldn't run.
If I couldn't run, I'm thinking about. No, it's really a stereotype. I was thinking about maybe playing golf. I have some golf lessons. I might do that next year.
Got just the person to give you golf lessons. He was our guest last week.
Right.
Alec Bradley, the golf pro. He was in last week, and so if you do, go and see Alec.
So, but I could do both. I could do a little bit of running and play golf as well.
Yeah.
But it's just a thought anyway. But I might have a few lessons and do a few rounds. I'm not sure if it's for me, but I kind of feel I need to do more.
Yeah.
It's outdoors and you get to walk around and you get to talk to people.
Degree of social about it as well. The thing with golf, just like running, mate, you've got to be outside generally, and it takes you out the house for hours, if not. But you're a retired man as well, and of course, I think with something like golf, if you're a good lady, Janet wanted to join you for a sport, she could go and play golf. But to ask your wife, how old is Janet now, if you don't mind me asking?
She's
okay,
58.
younger than you.
Younger than me.
58. Okay. Yeah. Right, but for her to take up marathon running now, it's not impossible.
No, she's never been interested in running.
Yeah, but maybe to go and hit a golf ball.
She might. I don't think she comes from a big golfing family.
Oh yeah.
But I think.
Of course she does. Yeah.
Likely.
Yeah. Okay, so they're both unlikely.
She's always said she wouldn't take up golf.
What about ballroom dancing then for the both of you? Ballroom dancing?
Oh no, I've done that before. No,
yeah,
it's definitely not me.
You've done dancing?
Yeah, I did dancing, and it was definitely. I've got two left leg, so I'm rubbish at dancing.
Yeah. Yeah, and one of them's got piriformis as well. So, all right. What? Okay, we're just going to go off the running. There's something that I generally ask all my guests. This is off topic. All right, couple of questions. All right. What's your go-to movie?
Definitely Aliens. Definitely.
Which one?
That's like Aliens.
Aliens.
The second one. Yeah.
That's with an S on the end. 1986, directed by James Cameron. All right. Now that's one of my favourite movies of all time as well. But fun fact. Mine is Alien, just above Aliens.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. Favourite movie. Okay. Go to a musician, pop star, whatever.
I'm quite into that. My tastes have changed over the years. I
Yeah.
really like American country music for some bizarre reason.
Kenny
I don't know
Rogers?
why. Well, no, modern
Oh,
country
okay.
music.
Who's that then?
I think they call it Americana or
Oh, okay.
more modern, more poppy.
Yeah.
You know, like Shabuzi. Quite like Shabuzi.
Oh, that Shabuzi guy.
Yeah.
So we've got Aliens, Shabuzi, go-to meal. Now I happen to know that you're a very good cook as
Oh
well.
yeah, I love cooking.
For those of you who don't know, and anyone watching or listening probably doesn't, Jonathan is a very good cook. I've actually been fortunate enough to sample his culinary delights when I've gone round for dinner, and he's a very, very good cook. And I think his food is almost restaurant standard. You know, maybe not Michelin star, but it's good. What's your go-to meal?
Well, definitely 100% Japanese food.
Oh.
Definitely all the time.
Yeah.
Because it's very healthy, it's small amounts,
Yeah.
and you don't feel full up when you have it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd always go to a Japanese
Great.
restaurant. I
All
always head for that.
If you had to emigrate tomorrow, okay, where would you go?
Oh dear, that's a tough one. I kind of like the idea of Canada. I've always fancied going to
40%,
Canada or British
yeah.
Columbia around there.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's a beautiful place, I think. Yeah. British Columbia is great, and you're in between Vancouver and Seattle as well, so you can step foot in the USA as well. So British Columbia. All right then. If you weren't a GP, which you were for 28-30 years, what else would you have
I'm
been?
definitely a chef.
A chef.
Yeah, a TV celebrity chef.
You wake up tomorrow
Like
morning,
Jamie Oliver.
and you're 25 years old, and you can have a new career, a profession.
Yeah, I think I would. I'd definitely train for that. I
You
almost did actually.
Right.
But I jumped out at the last minute. I
Why
went
is
to. I went to. This is while I was still a doctor. I went
Yep.
to Lincoln Catering College, and then I went there for a day to have a look around.
Yeah.
And then I just got cold feet, I think.
Yeah.
But I regret. I could have done it on my day off. I could have learned.
Interesting.
To
Yeah.
be a chef, and I just got cold feet. I think.
Yeah, but you learn how to cook anyhow, cook well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So another career would have been a chef. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Not a surgeon, anaesthetist, astronaut.
Well, I think when I was trained to be a doctor, I always kind of thought I would like to be a surgeon. It's so hard. I mean, a lot of my friends are surgeons.
Fortunately
and
so.
It's very difficult.
Yeah. Well,
You
once
have
you've
to
done
give
it.
up your whole life basically to train for it.
Really? Yeah.
And
Of course.
As you get older, I just changed.
Yeah.
So it wasn't for me. Really.
Yeah. Okay. Has it been a good career for you, being a GP, a doctor?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've loved it. Particularly the partners and
Yeah.
the nurses and the receptionists. I mean, we've had our ups and downs as any career has, but.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed just actually since COVID, we've been really good camaraderie in the practice.
Gotcha. Yeah. Because you had your backs up
So I
against
miss
the wall.
that probably the most.
Yeah.
I miss seeing patients definitely. Every
Yeah.
day.
What would you say to a viewer or a listener, okay, as a retired GP and an endurance athlete, yeah, as well, because you both those. If you're running marathons, to some degree, you're an endurance athlete, not professional, but you still got to move like that. What would you say to a patient who comes into your practice when you were practicing, who was unhealthy and overweight, okay? How does the conversation go? Because in my line of work as a personal trainer, I can have those difficult conversations because they've come to me for that.
I think you have to be very careful. You can't just blurt out to people saying you should do this, that, and the other, because you can get, especially this day and age, you get so much complaints. I mean, if somebody asked me, say, well, how, what do you advise? How do I lose weight? Well, how can I manage my diet?
Mm-hmm.
Then I would say, this is what I advise.
Mm-hmm.
But I would never ever say to somebody, somebody walked in and let's say they were very overweight, I'd never say, and they were hobbling, I'd never ever say that they were, because it's just not worth it, because you just get too many complaints really. I mean, we're there as an advisory service, we're not there to tell people what to do.
The edge, the oath or the pledge, excuse me, is to do no harm.
Yeah, absolutely.
If I walked into your surgery and I had a broken leg, and I didn't want to admit that I had a hairline fracture in the femur, in the thigh, yeah, isn't it incumbent upon you as a doctor to say to me, Tristan, you've broken your leg, you've got a hairline fracture, whether I like it or not, yeah? What's the difference then between you articulating with empathy and sympathy with a patient who's overweight and or morbidly obese with type 2 diabetes, why would you have to tread carefully with that patient because they've got a symptom? And if someone's got a broken leg, you'd clear it up straight away and say, right, this is what's happened to you, this is what you've done.
Well, I think it depends. This is the good thing about being in general practice, is that often you get to know patients over several years, and sometimes they don't quite become your friends, but you can have these sort of conversations with people that you've seen, and they kind of know you and you know them, and they don't mind, and you can say, well, hang on a minute, your diet's not really good, your diabetes is terrible, you know, you really need to do this, that, and the other. But if somebody walked in and just said you've never met them before, you can't just start blurting out what you think.
Sure.
So you have to kind of build. It's all about GP. It's all about building up relationships with patients.
Okay.
Over many years.
And, that's interesting. When in our line of work, yes, we have to have sometimes tread carefully. There's got to be some degree of sympathy or empathy, or not just our academic training, but varied levels of emotional intelligence. We have essentially read the room. When someone comes to us for personal training, and it's the first time they've walked through the door, we've already had a conversation on the phone, we've had some emails, and they come in for a consultation, and it's a guy called, whoever he is, John, and he's 19 stone and he's 5'9", or it's Jill and she's 18 stone and 5'6". Okay, there's no ambiguity there. That person is dangerously overweight. So it is actually my responsibility as a trainer, a professional, with not just my studies but my experience, to if they don't want to actually say it, then I'll say it, because there's no point that person coming. When I go to my dental surgeon, I had to have a root taken out that was in my gum that had grown through this year. It was relatively painful as well, but it went. Now, I wanted him to tell me that there's a problem there and how he's going to fix it. But if that dental surgeon would turn around and go, oh no, I don't want to upset or offend you, you haven't actually got a root growing through, would he be doing his job correctly then?
I understand what you're saying. I think things have changed over the years. I think we're much more complaining society. And what years ago, GPs or surgeons or whatever in the hospital would just say whatever they like. You know, and people would just have to put up with it. But I think these days you have to be much more careful what you say. But also, it's not just me as a GP, but we have a whole team. We'd have diabetes, we'd have a diabetic nurse, they'd see the diabetic consultant, they'd see something about their eyes. So you'll just be a cog in a big wheel. That you're one of the things.
There's a multitude of factors that go into helping the patient. Okay, next patient comes through 5 minutes later, and John or Jill, they're not overweight, they're just normal, they're relatively slim, and they want to take up a sport. Okay, they're just talking to you as their GP, and they've built up a friendly rapport with you. They want to take up a sport because they want to get fit. They don't need to lose weight. What do you suggest?
Well, if it's about running, it's easy because I've done running, so I can tell them to build it up gradually and not kind of, join somewhere like this, for strength-based training, and just do it gradually. Go on YouTube, as I said, I follow Ben Parks. And see what he says about what you should do, and there's masses of information out there, which it wasn't before when I was younger.
Too much sometimes,
Well, possibly.
Well, okay, so let me recap. Right, you're going to be 62 on Sunday. You're going to watch Aliens whilst listening to modern day American country music, whilst eating Japanese food, thinking about booking your emigrating to British Columbia. You're going to do all that on Sunday, whilst planning the next run. All right. Okay. Well, it's been a interesting journey. I've known you for I think 12 years. Possibly 12 years. And all those 12 years I've known Jonathan as a client and a friend. He's not my GP, but as a client and a friend, I found Jonathan to be one of the most interesting people I've met. And I don't mean that just in a work way, because you're a father. You're a father of 3, maybe one day a grandfather as well. You're a husband to Mrs. Gibbs as well. You've been someone in a profession as a doctor with that degree of social awareness in the changing times. You mentioned COVID, 4.5 years ago, things changed after that. You've gone through all that, and in the meantime, you've kept yourself fit, strong and healthy throughout. And hopefully that spreads to the rest of your family, your current family, and the family that are going to come after you with your 3 girls and possibly grandchildren in some time. I think everything starts at home, not the workplace. How we look after our bodies, how we actually eat, how we sleep, how we exercise, it all starts at home. I think there it spreads after that. We can't just rely on school teachers or GPs or trainers to teach us what to do. We've got to take some self-care as well. All right, well, I'm going to wrap it up now, and I thank you for coming in. And,
it's been a pleasure, it's been enjoyable. Thank you very much for asking me.
This is episode 75. I think, so today's episode 75, I'm 25 short of my initial target to do 100 podcast episodes. And that's been a journey. It's not been a marathon, it's just been like a little sprints once a week, you know. And once we get to episode 100, I'm going to change the ideas and the format of the channel. But you're my first marathon runner in your 60s, and if I remember rightly, you're the first GP, you know, so it's another first. Last week we had our first golf pro, this week our first retired GP stroke marathon runner. All right, what's the plan for the rest of your day, sir?
Go back home. I've been shopping, so I need to prep the tea for my wife.
What's for tea?
Then, I haven't decided yet, actually. I might do a Chinese, it's like pork mince with some...
So stir fry.
A stir fry.
Yeah. Chinese stir fry. Okay, you having a stir fry tonight?
Yeah, I might do that, I think.
All right then, excellent, sir. Yeah. I'm going to have tonight. I'm going to have salmon. It's one of my.
Oh yeah, very healthy. Very good.
Yeah, I'm going to have salmon, vegetables, and one of my little party tricks is Greek yogurt with dark chocolate broken up into it.
I've never done that. Yeah, I remember you mentioned that.
Yeah, try it. Greek yogurt.
I've got both. I've got both in the fridge. But
try it tonight. But you've got to put the Greek yogurt in the freezer for about 10 minutes just to get it really cold.
Oh, right.
And then you break the dark chocolate. Sometimes I put frozen berries in it.
Yeah,
it's a treat, but it's a relatively healthy treat. You know, as long as you don't put too much chocolate in this dark chocolate. That's it, sir. Right, for now, thanks for coming in. It's been my pleasure.
Thank you very much.
And
really good. Thank you very much.
Until the next one, when you do one of them. Yeah, show me your pictures there.
Well, that's my picture. Can you see it before the marathon? That's the picture.
Before and after.
After, just to prove I have actually done it. I got some. My daughter brought me some flowers, which was very kind of her.
Yeah, okay, and presenting them to you in Amsterdam. Well, that's a place I'd like to visit as well, and relatively.
Oh, you love it! I love Amsterdam. It's really, it's a lovely place.
Yeah, don't tell me why. Tell me off camera why you love it. Yeah. Okay. And that's it. My name's Tristan Lowe. The channel is Over 40s Fitness with Tristan Lowe. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music. And until the next one, signing out. Kirk out.
Goodbye.